Hey, what's up you guys? Today I'm going to talk about some books that I want to give a second chance to. So only one of these was an actual DNF, the rest of them I actually did finish. But, you know, just on reflection, I feel like I didn't really fully understand them, or I could actually prefer them or enjoy them more after a reread. So that's the books I'm going to talk about today. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like, please subscribe, all usual stuff. Let me know in the comments down below if you think I should reread any of these, or if you think I should just, you know, forget about them. But let's get straight into the video. The very first book that I think I want to reread at some point is The Scarlet Letter by Nathaniel Hawthorne. I read this because Easy A is one of my favourite movies, and that's like a modern retelling kind of the story, which is about a woman who has a baby out of wedlock. Well, her husband dies and then she has a baby, so, you know, people assume it's not her husband's, obviously. And she's forced to wear the letter A on her clothes as like a sign that she's an adulterer. And it's all about like religious morals and how the town treats a woman who has not followed the religious morals of the time. And it's an interesting story and it's an interesting premise, but the actual writing itself was just really dense. It was very hard to follow at times. I didn't read this recently, this was like 2019, but I remember really struggling with like the language. However, now I have read a lot more classics and I feel like I can understand a lot more of what is going on without having to constantly check Wikipedia. So I think I would maybe enjoy it more on a second reread. But at the same time, I also, from what I can remember, I feel like the story doesn't really go anywhere. But again, it has been a while, so that's why I want to give it a second chance. I want to see, you know, if I actually do enjoy it more now I've had more exposure to classics and kind of that language, or if maybe the story just actually isn't that interesting and I just want it to be interesting because I love Easy A so much. Who knows? Hopefully in the future I'll give it a second chance, but that is just the first book that I think, you know, I could probably enjoy this more after a reread. The second book that I want to give a second chance to is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I know that this is a lot of people's favourite classic, like a lot of people absolutely love this book, and I actually was watching a video a couple of days ago and someone said that they thought this was a good introduction to classics because the language is quite easy, and from what I remember from when I read it, the language itself wasn't difficult, but Oscar Wilde is a very, very flowery writer. So if you don't know, The Picture of Dorian Gray is about a man, Dorian Gray, who gets a picture painted of him. He's very vain and, you know, he's very ugly on the inside. So every time he does something, you know, nasty to someone else, it is reflected on the picture, and the picture slowly gets more ugly, and then things happen. I think that's right. This has been so long since I read it. But anyway, that's what I think has happened. And the actual story itself I really enjoyed. So when the story was going and things were happening, I really enjoyed it. I really liked the characters as well. However, with the flowery writing, there was times where Oscar Wilde would go on like huge tangents, talking about like things that were completely irrelevant to the story. Like there was a page I remember that was like a list of like jewels, and it was like 2 pages of just like a list of like jewels and other expensive things, and I just was like, what is the point in this, you know? But at the same time, I've seen so many people say this is their favourite classic, and I genuinely did enjoy this story, so that's why I'm like, okay, if I go into it knowing that this is how it's written, then surely I will enjoy it more, and that's why I think I should maybe give it a second chance. I think this is the one, like, out of the 4 books I'm going to talk about, people are like, yeah, definitely give it a second chance, because I know it is a lot of people's favourites. So, you know, I feel like I've done it a disservice giving it 3 stars, but I don't know, like, I enjoyed the story, I just could not get into his writing. This is the only thing about Oscar Wilde I've ever read. I definitely want to like try something else by him. I know that he mostly does plays. I think Dorian Gray might be his only novel. I'm not sure. But I want to give him a second chance because I actually find his life story as well super interesting. Like he is a very interesting author just to read about. So I really want to like Dorian Gray more, and hopefully on a reread that would happen. The third book is Final Girls by Riley Sager, and this is the only one on the list I actually didn't finish. So I was super excited to get to this. It is like a slasher story, and slasher movies are like my favourite horror movie like style. I absolutely love like Scream, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, things like that. I absolutely love it. So when I heard that this book was basically those movies but in book form, I was so into it. And then I picked it up out of the library. It took me so long to get it, and I eventually got it. And I read the first chapter, and I just kept thinking to myself as I was reading it, I was like, I would rather be reading Elantris by Brandon Sanderson, which I'd also got from the library at the same time. So I put Final Girls down, read Elantris, loved it, then moved on to something else and just never went back to Final Girls. because that very first chapter just didn't really interest me. I'm pretty sure the first chapter starts off with the survivor in a coffee shop talking to like a detective or something, and it just like didn't draw me in. But I do want to actually give it a second chance because I was so into the concept of it, and when I heard everyone talk about it, I was like, oh my god, this sounds perfect for me. And then I read that first chapter and I was like, But normally I'm not the type of person that only gives that book like one chapter. Like I very rarely DNF. I think I maybe DNF'd like 2 other books other than this one in my entire like life, or at least since I joined BookTube. So, you know, I think that the concept does still sound interesting to me, and I know that Riley Sager is like so popular on BookTube. Like everyone seems to love their books. I don't actually know if it's a man or a woman, Riley Sager. Everyone loves their books anyway. So I think that I should just get it again from the library and give it a second chance, and hopefully get past the first chapter. I don't know why. I do know why. It was just because Elantris was like calling out to me. I read the first chapter and then I was like, I could see Elantris on the other side of my room sitting on my desk, and I was like, I really want that Brandon Sanderson. I really miss Brandon Sanderson. I haven't read any of his books in a while, but yeah, that's what happened. So I feel like it wasn't even fair to call it a DNF because I just didn't even mean to not read it. I just got distracted. The final book on my list is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald, and again, this is a lot of people's favourite classic. My friend Ria, who like doesn't even really read, like she loves this book, loves the movie, and I just didn't really feel that strong connection to it. The writing I enjoyed, the characters I enjoyed, but for some reason I just didn't get as invested as other people did, and I think that on a reread I might potentially enjoy it more. So The Great Gatsby is about a man called Gatsby who holds these lavish, like huge luxury parties almost every night, basically as a way to try and get the attention of his love that they separated, and he's trying to get her attention pretty much. And I just like thought it was okay. Like, you know, I didn't have any bad thoughts, I didn't have any amazing thoughts. I was like, this is enjoyable, but it just didn't really do anything for me. But again, I've heard so many people say it's their favourite classic, and so many people love it and rave about it. And obviously, like, Gatsby is like a cultural thing. Like, lots of people talk about it. People hold Gatsby themed parties and stuff. So like, it's a big like pop culture kind of thing that everyone knows about. So I feel like I've done it a disservice again by giving it 3 stars, and I want to reread it and maybe bump the rating up, because now that I know exactly what it is and my previous thoughts on it, maybe they'll change. I don't know. Like, I don't really do rereads, so I'm just assuming that on a reread I would enjoy it more, but maybe on a reread I would actually enjoy it less, and that's kind of a scary thought to me. But that's kind of a risk, isn't it? That's the risk you have to take. So yeah, Gatsby, again, didn't hate it, just didn't love it, but I actually do want to love it, so that's why I think, okay, I'll redo it at some point and hopefully like it a little bit more, just a little bit. And those were 4 of the books that I want to give a second chance to, because I either DNF'd them, kind of, with Final Girls, I don't even count as a DNF, or just like, you know, didn't enjoy them as much as I thought I would. Especially like The Scarlet Letter, I went into that with such high hopes because I love Easy A, it's one of my favourite movies, I've rewatched it so many times, and then I was like, this writing just isn't for me. It was so dense, but you know, maybe on a reread I'll enjoy more. Maybe. That was the whole point of this video. I don't know why I'm repeating myself. I actually am planning on in January to reread a lot of my favourite books. I'm going to talk about that maybe not till December, but I have this plan for January 2021, which would be my 2-year anniversary of joining BookTube, to reread all of my like old favourites, you know, Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, that type of thing, and see if they actually hold up as much as I think they do. Because, you know, when you call something your favourite book but you've never reread it, maybe, like, again, like I've talked about, maybe I'll dislike it. Not dislike it, but like, it won't live up to my expectations. I don't know, it's very scary, but that's my plan for January. And that's not even what this video is about, so I don't know why I'm telling you this now. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, please subscribe. Let me know down below in the comments which of these I should reread. I'm assuming people will mostly say Dorian Gray, because that seems to be like the most popular out of these on BookTube. And yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video.